Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics. Oh, Sam, it's gone.
What?
I was getting so used to it and getting to really enjoy it. And oh, mate, there's less of you this week than there was last week. Sam, what have you done?
I've had a shave, mate. It's not... What have I done? Again, we're hitting in with an intro that is of no interest to those just listening. It's semi-video only. Well, it's not. But on YouTube, you can see that I have no moustache now. I had a moustache last week. And Drew, yeah. On this week's episode of Drew Observes What's Going On with Sam's Face, yes, it's gone, mate. I've not played Basil Fawlty this week, so I didn't need the moustache, and
you've had a
glad
shave.
it's gone.
Right.
So, and eventually I'll have a nice beard back, which is what I'm used to. But anyway, how are you? Equally moustacheless. Not that you had one before, anyway.
No, I'm very good, thank you. I mean, we had a very, very busy week last week, so this week is I've sort of had chance to sort of not because we've been doing the get out and we've been thinking ahead for what we're doing at Easter, but it's been a little less of a hectic week this week. Last week was full on. This week is backing off the gas a little bit, but it's been very nice. How about yourself? What have you been up to?
Yeah, not too bad. A few bits and pieces going on. Quite a lot of voiceover work. Done some work with a friend, which will be coming soon, which is I'm pleased about. Can't talk about just yet, but that's been interesting. A few more immersive dinner shows, stuff like that. Just the usual ticking along. Lots going on in the background. Just keeping busy. So here's to two busy but not mental weeks. I think we can drink to that.
Good stuff, mate. Yeah, here's to you. Right. It's not,
So although you've been busy but not busy, I'm sure you've had time to keep up with the latest updates in the news and stuff. What have you got to report on this week?
Three little sort of industry financial things. There's a wrap up on our ENO story. They have now reached agreement. So there will be no strikes. They haven't published the agreement yet. I haven't been able to find out the details, but management, union and orchestra and chorus have reached an agreement. So somewhere along the lines, we now have the ENO back on an even keel, which is always nice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, someone who is not on an even keel, and a bit of a bad news, is that Birmingham Council have decided to cut 100% of their arts funding.
What?
Now, 100% of their arts funding. So that means people like the Rep and the venues up there, the arenas up there, are going to get no funding.
I mean, I knew, obviously it's all in the news about Birmingham being bankrupt and the council fucking.
Well, that's it. Yeah,
they realised 100% of funding was gone.
So they've deemed it impossible for them, or I suppose under present circumstances, it was not wise for them to be seen to be giving X thousands of pounds to the arts. But what it does mean is that the people of Birmingham are going to lose a lot of shows and a lot of entertainment across the city. How that sits, whether it actually happens, but that is the proposal thus far. And also the other thing that's industry I've been looking at this week with a forthcoming budget is there's going to be a reduction in tax relief for theatre companies and production companies, which if you're backing a show or giving money to putting into a show, there's going to be less tax relief. Therefore, you're going to want to do it less, which ultimately is going to mean there are going to be less productions produced. So again, this are lovely. I don't often get political, but the Tory government have not been kind to the arts, and they continue to not be kind to the arts.
No.
So yeah, they're going to kick us in the artistic bollocks once again. But so that's a little bit. But again, and this week, sadly, we have to say goodbye to 6 amazing performers in the business, and I'm going to rattle.
It's a bit of a bad week for that, hasn't it?
It's been a horrible week, and sadly, some very young performers. Including Robin Windsor, the wonderful Strictly Come Dancing and show dancer. What a fantastic Well, it was a lovely man, a beautiful dancer. 44, for God's sake, that's no age. Ewan McIntosh, who was famous for The Office, which a great series, a fabulous, gentle in the background performer, became the backbone of The Office. And I was listening to some Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant saying, the more they wrote for his character for Keith, because he was such a brilliant performer. So
Very, very
great
talented
loss,
man. Yeah.
and only 55, bless his heart. Um, Someone who I love to watch perform, because I think he was an original and a great actor, was John Saverdon, who of any Corrie fans will know as the Butcher, and that just his character was amazing. I loved him, and a lot of black and white films around where he turns up in the background, sometimes playing the heavy, sometimes playing fabulous character actor. Stuart Organ, who, if you're a fan of Grange Hill, he was one of, and again, not the only production he was in, but if you were a fan of Grange Hill and growing up with Grange Hill, longest serving cast member of Grange Hill,
Really?
Stuart Organ, as well as being a fabulous actor, turned up in reps around the country, TV shows, fabulous actor. Again, far too young.
Yeah.
Now, interesting that if you are a Star Trek or Marvel fan, Captain Marvel fan, Kenneth Mitchell is a young American. He's only 49 and a stunning actor. Has passed away. So if you're a fan of those franchises, you will know you'll be mourning his loss. And another gift to a wonderful franchise, and again we've lost. There has been talk this week of over the past couple of weeks of new Bonds. And a Bond girl, I say Bond girl, a Bond character, Pamela Salem, fabulous actor, beautiful woman. I mean, gosh, she was gorgeous. She played Miss Moneypenny in Never Say Never Again.
Oh,
Also turned up in Doctor Who on many occasions.
yeah.
So again, she's gone. So those wonderful six amazing actors
God,
that
there's a big
been
hole
a
left
bad week.
in the industry over the past week or two. Massive condolences to families and
Absolutely.
friends of all of them, and to the industry in general, because we're losing some fabulous talents and some stunning people. So yeah, raise a glass to all of them. Sorry
Glass
to
to
see
them.
you gone, but thank you for everything you did.
Well put, Sam. Well put.
Yeah, well, sometimes I say things that almost sound like they've been written by someone with a brain rather than just coming out of the emptiness that's up here. Uh, but let's go from emptiness up here to a person whose life and career is far from empty. In fact, it's absolutely chock-a-block. We have a wonderful guest on this week, a man who I am proud and honoured to say I've shared a stage with. And he's going to talk to us not just about his performing career per se, but his involvement and heavy involvement in an area of the industry which we've not touched on too much before. We've had a couple of
True.
guests that have mentioned it or have been involved in it, but something that I feel, and I'm sure you'll agree, is highly important, and leads the way for people in careers, I think is a
And,
good
and
way.
also, yes, and also quite often misjudged and misaligned. I think
Yeah,
it's
no,
highly
absolutely.
criticised without knowing too much about it. We will know more
We
after
will,
today.
and we can do that right now, mate, because he's here and he's
Yeah,
waiting. So I shall introduce you, ladies and gentlemen, those who are listening and watching, to the fabulous, the fantastic Mr. Tyler Marlow. And there he is, bright and early. Mr. Tyler Marlow is joining us on Drewling Samantics. Hello, mate. It feels
Hi.
literally like about 2 months since I saw you, which is pretty much it.
Maybe that's because it is.
Yeah, but yes, for anyone that doesn't know, Tyler and I shared the stage together this Christmas just gone for 20 odd shows, something like that. Can't remember how many we did,
Yeah.
but yeah, he had the pleasure of my company throughout the whole of December. What more could you possibly want? Well, I'll tell you what more you could want is to be on Drewling Semantics and to meet the legend that is Mr. Drew Fetish. So Drew meet Tyler, Tyler meet Drew.
Tyler, lovely to meet you, mate. Lovely to meet you.
Me too.
I have to say, I mean, you're looking fresh-faced, unhassled, cool, chilled, and that after working with Sam Dunning is an achievement, my friend. It really is.
It's
It
taken that
really.
whole 2 months to get back into it. That's what it is.
And that's the end of the show. Thanks very much. See you all next time. No, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is brilliant to see you, mate. But for Drew, who obviously only knows of you via my high praise and reporting back on all the misbehavior, etc. And for all our lovely listeners and watchers, give us a quick introduction to who you are, because obviously being pantomime dame is but a small part of Tyler Marlow. So go ahead.
It is indeed, yeah. Behind the bra and the wig and the big dresses, I am actually also, an entertainer. I was obviously an actor first, but I also am a head running entertainer on holiday parks throughout the rest of the year, and head up teams of people to go and stun holiday makers and holiday home owners across the country, mostly up north these days, though I did start down in the south.
Fantastic. I'm actually, as you're sitting there now, Tyler, over casually draped behind you is, I think it's a sweatshirt or a hoodie saying entertainment manager. Look at that, just in the
Yes,
background.
I love
For
me.
anybody not watching on YouTube, he's not shy, this boy.
Not at all. Yeah, this fleece actually, I've only had it a couple of months. Someone actually was very kind and sent it to me, along with this lovely mug that I've got right here that says the world's best Ents manager there. But I've got no idea who sent it to me, and I've been trying to search for ages to find out who sent it to me. So if anyone who sent it to me is listening, I'd love to find out so I can thank you in person.
I would check pubs, find people passed out on the floor from far too much drinking, because clearly they haven't got a clue. No, I'm joking. So, entertainment's manager. So you are at Parkdean, I believe, aren't you, in
Yes,
Morecambe?
I am
And
in.
I suppose we should be political. Other parks are available, but they're not going to be as good because Tyler's not there. So simple as that. But so give us a bit of an introduction to what you actually do or what's involved in that role, because and we'll come on to this later. The involvement and the levels of what you have to do are so extreme, I believe. There's so much involved in it, but equally it's integral to the entertainment's business as a whole. But we'll discuss that further. So just give us a kind of idea what your daily life is like, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, on a park, I am an ants manager, and I'm also what is known as the head of department for the entertainment department as a whole. So I really see the sort of operational runnings day in, day out of my park, or whatever park I'm on during a year. And I head up a team of this year, actually, I've got four others on my team. So there's five of us in total. And between us, we sort of, we are in day, afternoon, morning and night, all that kind of stuff. Really making sure that anyone who is here on holiday, anyone who owns, a caravan or a lodge on any park, stays entertained and throughout their stay is welcomed and is made to feel like they've not only got their money's worth, but we've made an impression that could essentially last a long time. I sit here doing this role because of some people that I was met with as a child on holiday parks. And as you said, it's really a big integral part of our industry and our business. And it's a good start for a lot of people, which obviously we'll come on to in a little while. But yeah, as a whole, I'm very much the sort of the person who goes out and pushes people to do things, but at the same time, I'm also still on stage all the time. I'm doing this, I'm that, and the other, plus all of the the exciting and fun admin side of being a
Oh,
manager
good.
and running a department.
So, I mean, you say, I mean, nowadays, obviously, you say you have residents there. This isn't just a seasonal, turn up when the sun shines, go home when it starts to rain again. You're there all the time. I mean, what sort of stuff are you providing for people all year round? Because I mean, I can imagine there are summer shows and things like that that we all kind of associate. But then, I mean, that's tough to entertain somebody in March that that is
Absolutely.
come to visit their holiday home.
Well, for an example, like this week, we have two types of season, just as if you were like booking a train or whatever. We've got peak seasons and we've got off-peak seasons.
Yeah.
Just been February half term, which was a peak season, and then yesterday we went into off-peak because the half terms are finished, kids are back at school, less people are coming on holiday. And last night, our venue, which is huge and beautiful, had by the end of it 3 tables sat in it, and we were doing a full-on production show with four singers and dancers, belting out Queen and Tina Turner at them, and doing quizzes and game shows and all that kind of stuff. So what we really tend to do, if I give you a little breakdown of a day to day, we start around 9:30, 9:45 in the morning. We do our morning activities for younger children. So we've got tots activities, we've got kids things, arts and crafts things. We do pottery, painting, we make, sprayed tie-dye t-shirts. And then we go on and we do slime making. We've got enhancement activities where people can sort of join in. We read stories. We have meet and greets with some of our character mascots and all that kind of stuff throughout the day. That sort of finishes up around 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then bam, as soon as 5 o'clock hits, the venues reopen again, and it's the evening. The lights are off, all the mood stuff's on, the music's blaring, to a safe level, I may add, and
In case
and
health and safety are watching, yes.
absolutely. And then from 5:30, we start straight into our sort of kids' evening entertainment program up until 7 p.m., which includes games, dancing, prize giving, all that kind of stuff. We then go into the favorite of most parks, which is bingo, which is absolutely huge, especially for the company I work for. And our bingo is actually linked up around the country, so the prize money's huge and all that kind of.
Wow.
We've got 60 parks under our belt, so then everyone's playing bingo. The money pot is massive. So it creates that real buzz around the venue, whether you've got 10 people in or 150 people in. And then as that night progresses, we do more game shows. There is production shows, which are like 45 to 50-minute shows of non-stop singing and dancing, really big production value, costumes, lights, all that kind of stuff. And then on the side of that, we're also all techies. When most people are on stage, there's always got to be someone in that tech box, lighting, sound, mics, testing the sound, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we get those visiting acts and those artists that come in to help us alongside us 2 to 3 times a week. If we're lucky at the moment, we get them once a week, but then there is 7 nights to fill. And so it all rests on us. And, it's a program that is really rigorous and really has to be stretched out, but also feel really, really together at the same time. And so it's a lot of work. And it's a lot of energy and a lot of push, but it's really great fun. And when you nail something and when you've got a product that really works, it's so easy just to project it as big as we possibly can.
Wow.
Fantastic.
It blows the mind just how much is involved. I mean, obviously we've all at some time, as children or as adults, spent time at a similar sort of thing, a holiday park or somewhere where events like this run. And I guess you don't really think about it until you're sat the other side of it, just what has gone into that. Because anyone could go to the theatre and watch a musical, but you're doing those, I mean, sort of not quite at full scale, but let's say half a musical every evening. And that's
Absolutely.
just one part of the day. You then
Yeah.
add in all the other things. So it's
And
just
guys come,
overwhelming almost.
I'm not on a show team running the department. I've got enough on to deal with. So my guys come in and there's 4 shows to learn on top of all that extra daytime product, the kids products and all that kind of stuff. And they come in the sort of end of January, beginning of February. We go away for a week to another park in the country. They rehearse it for a couple of days. They come back in their spare time. They're trying to rehearse it, and then it's on. They've got 4 or 5 shows to completely learn. And when you put 5 shows that are all nearly an hour long together to try and learn with completely set choreography, all different lyrics and different medleys and mashups, it's so much work. And it might look a little bit more simple than going to see something in the West End or whatever, but whether we've added lights or we've not added lights or a set or a costume, the work that they put in externally, even in their own time, is just immense. And I
Yeah.
think it really comes from you've got to be a passionate industry person to do this job. Because if you turn up and you've never done it before or you're not that bothered about it, you're not going to put those extra bits in that you need to make yourself feel better about going on stage and making something that's really special.
It's also that thing of that you are on show all the time, aren't you? You're on duty all the because you step out of a chalet or a building or whatever, and you meet a member of the public. You are the face of the park, the face of the company, and
Absolutely.
the
Yeah, I've
company of people you're
been
working with.
Absolutely. You walk to work and, there's kids hanging, they all know who you are. You are pretty
Yeah,
much in the entertainment ents world of holiday parks, you are the face of the company, and you walk to work, and you can't have your phone out. You can't be just talking to people casually because you've got kids banging at the caravan windows, waving at you. It's very much like being famous in the little sort of portion of the
Yeah.
world. Because you're strolling through and they're shouting for you, they're asking for photos, they're asking you to sign their books, and it's really, really, it's not strange, but it's really sort of surreal as you're doing it. And obviously, the more and the longer you do this job, you get more used to it. But I remember when I first started, it was like, wow, they are like, we're idols to those children. And even if it's just for a week, they could be talking about us for the next 10, 20 years. And you've really got to make that impression, but then keep it consistent. And something I always say to my guys is to keep that consistency is the most important thing because you can't be at work in this building and be all smiley and happy. And then they see you outside and you're there miserable, not talking to them, not paying attention to them. You've got to keep that act up. And it's something that is really, really important and is really going to impact those children for a long time to come.
And people save up hard. For some people to come in for on holiday,
Mhm.
it's the highlight of their year. A summer holiday and Christmas for people, their lives revolve around that. And they save hard. If you've got a family of two or three children, it's not cheap wherever you are. And you demand quality whoever you are.
Mhm.
And you guys are there at the sharp end providing it, and that's a
Absolutely.
big responsibility.
And even when it is, when it's quieter and, you think it's a lot of energy doing it when there's a room full of people, but the energy is sort of having to double when there's three, four tables in because you've really got to find it from somewhere to bring it within yourself. But something I was actually talking to my team yesterday in our meeting about is because just because it's gone quiet or there's not as many people here, these people have still saved up. They have paid for a holiday. They are expecting the same quality and care and sort of excellence that we provide to groups of hundreds to them as well. And they are more than deserving of that because they are here for a reason. We run as a business throughout all of these months because we can operate as a business throughout these months. So we need to make sure that we're always on our A game. And that's
Mm.
something that's really, really important to me. And, with our seasons being a lot longer now, back in the day before I started doing this job, they'd sort of get a letter in February, turn up to the park in April, and then they close in October. But now, you get your placement in December, you start your training sort of middle of January, you open sometimes in February, like I was. I was open the first week of February, and we close
Wow.
close to the end of November. And some parks are now staying open all year round and doing winter wonderlands and things like that. So it's not just a quick summer job anymore. It's something that's really important, and it's something you can create a career out of, but also not just a job, an actual lifestyle, and it's something you really have to accustom to.
Yeah, I mean, to go back slightly on something you said about how it doesn't matter how many people are in, that they've obviously paid and expect the same level and deserve the same level. In a way, it's similar-ish to pantomime, and that's going to bring me on to something because obviously we mentioned we did panto together, so we can go back into that. But
Yeah.
it's we've all done pantomime shows, or everyone that's performed in a pantomime will have done a show where the audience are crammed in, like the theatre is bursting, there isn't a single seat to be seen. And we've equally done shows where there have been, I don't know, a quarter of one layer, like a quarter of just the stalls, or it's been, for want of a better word, quiet. There's been a
Yeah.
very small audience. Doesn't mean
Mm.
they're a bad audience, but the more people you have in, the more noise they can make. And particularly in panto, you want response from the kids, and if there's lower numbers. But regardless of how many people are there, you've still got to give 110%. Every single person in that audience deserves exactly the same as if they were sat next to 20 people as opposed to being sat next to one or two. And it
Absolutely.
carries through in the same way, doesn't it?
100%, and just because obviously sometimes it's harder for audiences when there's only a few of them. If sometimes audiences are, you tend to see that they're a bit nervous about maybe joining in, or because they're not quite sure what limit they can go to, where they sit with you as a presenter or as an actor or as a, in a panto as a dame or as a villain, and you kind of have to encourage that from your side. But once you get one person going, you tend to see it's sort of like a domino effect. It sort of makes everybody else join in as well,
Mm.
because they're just waiting for someone to do it because everyone wants to join in. They just don't want ever to be the first to join in because they think, it's quiet. I'm going to look more stupid to more of an intimate group. But once you get that going, it doesn't matter how big an audience is. You can have just as much fun. And actually, I've done some shows that have been even better with a smaller audience than they have been with a
Oh,
huge audience.
Yeah.
because you can have one person or 100 people. If that one person is that one person who's on their own rather than being part of the 100, you're gonna have a better show with them than you are the rest, and that's how
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
works.
It's a safety and numbers thing, isn't it? It's a
Absolutely.
typically general public thing. The more people are there, the less you as an individual will stand out, and then the more confident you feel. And
Absolutely.
as
And I
simple
think,
as that.
that's why it's always more important, especially, within pantos and especially on parks and things, is when you first go out and you're wanting some audience participation, you've got to address the room as a whole first. Get a couple of cheers going first where everyone's doing it at the same time. Rather than always singling someone out straight away,
Mm.
it sort of makes everyone a bit more relaxed. Okay, yeah, we're definitely joining in here. We're part of this as well. We're in on this. We're going to join in. And if you only take one person, everyone else is a bit like, oh, okay, so are we not allowed to as a vocal group? Or is it just that one
Yeah.
person who's part of that? And so you've got to make sure that everyone's as included as everybody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
But
can't remember who it was. It was an old comedian years ago said you might all be sitting in the auditorium, but they are not an audience. They are still, 400, 500, 600, however many big you are. They are individual people that you've got to make an audience,
Yeah,
and it's that skill and that your personality or whatever one uses to make their audience and create that buzz. As soon as you've made an audience, they'll all do anything you like. But I mean,
absolutely.
that brings me on to saying, because that is a skill and that is a something to learn. And you mentioned, everybody in that team does everything.
Hmm.
You're doing teching, you're writing, you're rehearsing, you're running. And that is an incredible. And there are very few places, and we often, Sam and I often talk about it, where young performers come out of training and they yes, they're fully equipped, but they don't know how to do it yet.
Yeah,
And it used to be sort of like weekly rep and repertory theatre. That pretty much has died now. And it does seem to me that the parks and cruises are providing performers
absolutely.
with, for want of a better word, an arena to hone their skills.
Hmm.
Because it isn't there in the theatre, as much as it was. So that, I mean, yeah, you're getting young people coming in and learning their trade. Like you say, you're lighting, you're moving scenery. I mean, that's an enormous help to
It
young
is, I
performers.
get people come in and they've trained as a dancer for the last 3 years at university and they're great at doing that, but that's all they've done. And, they might not have even worked before in an actual job. And this is kind of a combination of everything. It is like having a normal job in terms of, you've got a rota, you've got hours, you get paid by the hour. But at the same time, you're doing a performer's job, but kind of in a bit of an easier way because you have got that security of it is also a job. So you've got those flexible hours, you've got your week set out, you've got your day off, you've got this, that, and the other. And then they come in and it's really as an ends manager and as a head of department, it is really my job and there's a lot of responsibility on people like me to make those performers and help them to flourish a little bit more. You come in with one string on your bow and you leave with 10, and that's what this job is actually all about. And to me, it's one of the best stepping stones into our industry, especially if people have never worked in a professional environment before, especially in performance, because not only are they able to go on and perform at the drop of a hat, they are also able to perform after doing a full day's work. They're able to perform after, working and doing a completely different thing an hour ago to what they're doing right now. They can also go and jump in a
Mhm.
box and control sound. They know how to sound check. They can control lighting cues. They can, work with mechanics and haze machines and all that kind of stuff. And they leave this job when they do leave this job as really flourished and well modeled performers who could actually go and work in many different parts of the industry if they focus on one skill and hone it a little bit more.
Fantastic stuff.
yeah,
It's brilliant.
it teaches and I guess encourages versatility.
Hmm.
Um, but it's also, as you've made quite clear, something that you have to be incredibly driven to do and committed to. And
Absolutely.
to get these younger performers in early doors, I think it's an incredible start for them and one of the best ways to breed this next generation of incredible performers. And
Absolutely.
it takes me on nicely to the fact that you yourself, of course, don't just manage other people, but you are a
Hmm.
performer. Obviously,
Yep.
we did Panto together, and you are, may I say, an incredible dame. How did Dame start for you? When did you first put on the frock? What happened?
But and on our side of the panto world, we call it a debut most of the time. A little bit of a play on words. And my debut was very much in officially in 2017 was when I first sort of donned the frock. But before that, I was always very much I've never been shy to hide my feminine side, nor the masculine, because as you'll know, Sam, I'm probably more of a bloke when I'm in a dress than I am when I'm not in one.
Yeah,
It's
I think
it's
that's a
kind
fair
of
statement to
insane
make.
what
Yeah.
happened. Obviously the brilliant pantomime came to see us, and they described me as a new Les Dawson, and that's very much the angle I go at with my dame. But for me, what happened was it was a combination of I've always been such a big panto goer, and panto has always been such a great part of my life, even as a kid. Every Christmas Eve we were at that panto, whether it was a local Amdram or it was a full-fledged theatre production. Obviously, I'm from the Midlands in Leicester, so we've got the De Montfort Hall panto by Imagine Theatre, and they've always done it since I was a child. But I remember actually I was only a couple of months old. I think I was probably about 9, 10 months old, and it's sort of my earliest memory of going somewhere and doing something because me and my mum went to see Mother Goose, and it actually turned it into my favorite panto of all time. It was the first panto I ever saw, and I remember seeing that, and then a couple of years later we saw it again, and I was sort of old enough to understand what it was, what was going on, and Mother Goose came out, and I thought. That's me. I already knew I wanted to be a performer. My mum was an actress growing up. She was also a makeup artist within theatre, and she really raised us. She's now a drama and creative therapist. So I've always been surrounded by the arts. And it was something I always knew, panto for me, as well as musical theatre, which is something I also have a massive interest and history with. It was for me a way to push limits and to push boundaries and also to have fun. A lot of my part of an entertainer is I do a lot of comedy and a lot of stand-up comedy. And anyone who knows me will always say, you're the funny one of this part of the group who's on stage. I'll make the jokes, I throw all that kind of stuff out. And so I needed that platform to elevate me to be able to go on stage, make people laugh, and to have a laugh myself. And for me, the best way to do that was to be a dame. A lot of people, people like Michael Batchelor and Jamie, our friend Jamie Ryding, who are both fantastic dames within their own right, often describe themselves as professional fat blokes in a dress. And I love that term because as a bigger person, as someone who always used comedy as a way to edge into to get in with people and to create things, it was such a great way for me to go, right, I've put on a dress, I've got on a wig, I'm going to talk like this, and I'm going to say a joke, and people are going to, it doesn't matter what I say, because the minute I walk out on stage, and, we had it this year, as soon as my entrance happened, I hadn't even said a word, and people were laughing and cheering and whooping, because they see this 6'5" giant woman with massive hair and this massive frock and this massive makeup on her face, and it's hilarious. And I think for me, it was that made me go, I've got to do that because that is me. That is me all over, and I can do that. And it's something that I owned. And then in 2017, I'd already been writing pantos, judging pantos, going and working within the industry quite a bit, and being quite obsessed with them, actually. It's one of my most favorite forms of theatre. I think it's fantastic. And I sat down and I said, look, I want to write and I want to direct this show. And so I wrote and directed Aladdin, and we needed a twankie. And I said, you know what? I've written the script. I've written it really accustomed to my sense of humor, especially that role. So I'm going to do it. And, I bought a load of wigs and, just cheap, like old Smithy wigs, did them all up with hairspray and all that kind of stuff, and made different outfits out of nothing and did it. And the response I got was so amazing that I thought, I can't not do this again. And then from there on, it's just been a constant of growing, developing, and creating what as my dame. And yeah, it's just I can't actually describe the love I have for it or for panto. And I think there's a very difference. I'm not a drag queen. A lot of people say, oh, you must be a drag queen if you do. I'm not that. What I am is I am
Yeah.
I'm a funny bloke who at Christmas time puts on a funny, outrageous outfit. Because a lot of the time it's not a dress. You saw me this year. I was in a bean can for
You were in a
half
bean can
a
at one
second,
point, yeah.
you know. Um, it's not about the dress, it's not about the makeup, it's about the character and the personification of comedy, and that's what a dame is to me. And I think there's three roles in panto that you really want to do, and it's either comic, villain, or dame. They are the three that get away with it. You know, Sam, you're a villain, I'm a dame. We've both worked with comics who are also feeling the same way about their role as we feel about our own. And it becomes a very special relationship you have with that character. And you make it your own. There's no dame, there's no villain around that is exactly like any other, because you take so many bits from other people and then create so much more from yourself that you make actually a fully fledged person who year on year just has a different name, and you play on that, don't you?
Yeah.
It's
Some years
interesting
it
because
doesn't even have a different name. I mean, some years you just repeat and you end up
Yeah,
going,
just
yeah,
repeat it.
yeah, you refer to it as my dame, and I think people do that thing like my dame, my villain. You're right. You do create. I mean, I'm 5'6", so my dame has always been. I've always referred to myself as Dame Dinky, and she becomes. And my thing is the energy. I never stop moving. I move around the stage. I might be only 5'6", but I cover 600 yards every time I come on the stage. And I'm also a fella in a frock. I'm a little fella in a frock. Who can be, I mean, I'm incredibly feminine at times, and then the other is like put that, but it's I don't know what it is. It's everyone takes on that. I mean, I fell into it because someone was taken ill in the cast, a relative of the dame. She had to go, he had to go, and the producer said to me, "Well, you've directed the show, you do it." And I went, "I've never, no, I was a villain. I played villain for 10, 15 years. Do it." And I went, "Oh, okay." You couldn't get me off, because all of a sudden it was like, now I get it. Now I get what they're talking about with the dames. It's,
The minute you do Dame, you don't want to do anything else.
ever, ever do anything
You
else.
know what? You get to do that, and yeah, that's fun. You do that, but that's fun. But I get to do this, and I do all of that plus more. I get to wear. You've all got one or two costumes. I've got 15. I've got 15 hair pieces of hair. I've got
Yeah.
loads of pairs of shoes. I'm coming out. I'm doing all these gags. And you get the fun thing with the Dame is you get a lot of time with the villain in their bits. You get a lot of time with the comic in their bits, and then you get your own time as well. So they have to take you on, and then you just get your own bit anyway. So
Yeah.
very much the sort of middle man or woman as as you would be within that situation. At the end of our panto, as with a lot of them, you suddenly also become often the villain's love interest at the end, and you
Absolutely.
swept off into the sunset. And it's great. I think also with that kind of thing is that you are sent the whole show as being this fat, funny, often old or ugly woman, and then at the end you've actually been one of the love interests all along, and you play on that, and it's just a really great thing. And I've always said, there's two types of dame. There is a character dame and there's a glamour dame. There's some wonderful glamour dames. There's Kerry Dupree,
Oh
Danny
yeah.
LaRue, Chris Hayward, who does the Newcastle Theatre Royal. And then you've got great character names like Michael Batchelor, Jamie, all that kind of stuff. But then you get the odd one every now and then who sort of is able to fuse both of them. And you look at someone like John Inman, who was a glamour dame, but at the same time, a real character dame as well. And
Mm.
you take aspects of that because they are hard to fuse, but I think you can either be one or the other and it's still absolutely acceptable. And I'm very much not a glamour, not a glamour dame in the slightest, very much a character dame. And I think there's so many different transitions of that, and we're seeing a lot more of, a lot more of drag actually coming through into the, especially in the villain path of things of panto.
Yes.
Getting
Yeah.
sort of more than one bloke in a dress now, but it's two very different things. If you've got a drag queen playing a villain, they are playing the essence of that woman and they're playing that villainess, whereas you're still walking around pretending that you're a bloke in a dress, which is
You're a
what you.
fella in a frock. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think there is, people say it's a fine line, but to me, I think it's quite an easy line to sort of navigate and say, this is what I do, and this is what the Dame does, and this is what that character does, and they're all very, very different. Whether you're a principal boy, principal girl, comic dame, or villain, everyone's got their set ways, and you make that your own every year on year. And the more you build on that, you actually take from every character you've played in the past and add and add and add and add, and all of a sudden you've got this fantastic caricature of a person, which is exactly what you need in panto.
yeah, definitely. And I
Totally
mean,
right. I think you rounded that up better than almost any other dame we've spoken to. That was beautifully put, mate.
yeah.
Beautifully
And
put.
just to make, well, and sort of, I quite like taking things full circle to bring it back round once more. We've said numerous times, and all the different pantomime performers we've had on have always mentioned the fact that panto tends to be one of the first experiences of theatre that a child will have. Um,
Mhm.
lots of young children do get to go and see full-blown musicals or plays, and they're very lucky. But actually, when you look at age and initial introduction to theatre, it tends to be pantomime. And the reason this is full circle is because I would say, and I'm sure you'll agree, that the other first experience of perhaps not theatre in full essence, but of entertainment, of watching a show or having that kind of experience is at holiday parks or
Mm.
at venues doing similar things. So
Yeah,
not only are
absolutely.
you giving opportunities to brand new performers to hone their skills, you are introducing young people to an art form, and that must be really rewarding.
It really is. I've actually got a group of kids out there now with one of my guys who are, it's a toddler's activity. They're all between like 2 and 5 years old, and they're all getting up on the stage, and that they're doing different things. They're playing with imaginary swords, and they're really using their imagination, stretching them, and creating their own world of fantasy. And that's essentially what we do in the theater. We're just creating a world of fantasy that other people are allowed to step into and be a part of for 2 hours. And I think within this job, it's kind of, instead of it being that fantasy, you're also doing it in the real world, and it makes the kids go, "Oh my, I'm really enjoying, either coming up on the stage and dancing, or being on the floor or whatever." And they're going, I really like doing this. It makes me feel good." And that is what stems that performer in you. And you'll both know, I know, when you're a kid, that's where it really sort of comes in, and you see those things, and you see people on a stage. It doesn't matter where that stage is. That stage can be in a holiday park venue, and they go, "That's what I would like to do as a living." They look at us and see us having fun and having a laugh, and they go, "That looks so much fun." And they're not thinking about money. They're not thinking about it being a job. They're just thinking about a passion that is starting to burn within them, that they want to be a performer. And that really stems in, and they either come and join us on doing this, or they go into doing theatre, or they become dancers or vocalists, or whatever it is they do. They are part of the art world. And I think that we really do ignite a big generation of people that go up. I'm obviously, I had a lot of influence as a performer anyway, but the reason I do this job in particular is from watching people who did this job. I went to a lot of holiday parks when we were kids. Back then it was what we could afford to do, and every year we'd save up and we go for 5 days and stay in a caravan. And they're the best memories of my childhood. I had the best time and met some wonderful people and saw some wonderful people really hone their talents. And there's people who start here. If you look at people like Stephen Mulhern, Bobby Davro, all of them who have started, Shane Ritchie, they started doing this job,
Yeah.
and now they're huge stars in the country, and they've done theatre. They do big pantos with, not, I was going to say kudos, but Crossroads, and they do theatre gigs, and they take tours on, and they're actors, but they're also entertainers, and they are well-rounded entertainers who are also probably quite humble because they know where they started. And I think some of the best entertainers do start doing this job, and it really does help them to hone that skill of being on a stage, even when it comes down to learning how to use a microphone, and public speaking. It really, really does help.
What they do, I think also it's the human contact. It's making it important and special for people, for your audience. And I don't think you can teach that. You have to feel that. You have to do it to learn that and to feel that. And once you feel it, and it never loses, it never leaves you.
Absolutely, once you've gone and done it, you never want to stop doing it.
No.
I left this job a couple of years ago after doing it for a while, and I took, I think it was about 6 months out, and that included the break that we would have had in the season anyway. And I went actually into, alongside acting full time again, I went into sales and selling charity, and those people who stand in supermarkets and try and get you to sign up. I did that for a little while as self-employed alongside acting, and as much as it was nice to be back in the theatre world and just focus on that. I really missed the the niche of this job, and it's really hard to describe it when you've not done it. But when you're sat there at night and it's like 9 p.m. and you're eating your dinner, watching ITV News, and you're sat there thinking, oh, these people I know are, suddenly on the dance floor doing the cha-cha slide, or they're on here singing, Queen, or, whatever. And it's really weird because it niggles you and you go, actually, I really miss that. I wish I was there doing it. And after 6 months, I was back doing it again. And it's something that I think even, I will probably eventually move out again and try things again, and then come back again, and then go and come back. There's people in our company who have been doing this, especially my role, for, 20, 30 years. And,
Mm.
gone and had 15-year breaks and then come back to it. And it's something that definitely gets you, as well as being a performer, actually doing this job and having to be able to do all of those things. It makes you feel like a really great part of the industry and someone who is really capable of doing a lot of things.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we could talk for longer, but we are rapidly running out of time because it's been, I mean, one of my favorite favorite guest episodes for quite a while. Thank you so much. But we got to wrap up, and we always wrap up in the same way. Give us a story of all these years, of all these experiences you've had, something that sticks in the memory that you dine out on,
I
Tyler.
think I would always say to any future performers, always make sure that your stage and set, especially if there's runners or things move, that everything is locked in place and everything works properly. I was in rehearsal once as the Grinch. I was practicing the Grinch's part in a junior version of Zeusical the Musical. And our stage had lots of different panels that would move and sort of that. And I was going across, and I wasn't even playing the Grinch. I was directing the show, and I was showing our Grinch how to walk across the stage. And as I did it, I put my foot on the final panel, and the panel slid open, and I fell straight into the stage and was sat with my arms and legs sort of over these four corners of this big cube on the stage. Just sat there looking, thinking, I've really hurt my back, and I look like a real idiot now. And then tried to act as if that's what I wanted him to do. I said, yeah, absolutely, kick it under, sit in the stage, and that's how it should look. And so, yeah, I would always say, please do make sure that everything you're using is fixed and in place, because you can sustain injuries and then have to pretend that it's part of the performance.
Wow. I mean, what a way to steer into the skid, though. Most
Absolutely.
of us would go, don't do that. I've been an absolute twat there and made an idiot of myself. You went, no, no, no. No, I'm not going to give him the satisfaction of thinking
Yeah,
I've made a
not at
mistake.
all. You know me. I'm not about that. Not at all. If I've done it, then it's something that's supposed to be done.
Oh, amazing. Tyler, it's been an absolute joy catching up, mate. Thank you so much for coming on the show and giving us a proper insight into what goes on basically behind the scenes of an incredible art form, a really challenging but massively rewarding and important part of our industry. And yeah, have a fantastic season. I'm sure you will. And we look forward to finding out what you've got coming up next and where you're going to be.
Absolutely. There's stuff in the pipeline for Christmas. I've already had 5 wigs commissioned. There's a couple of costumes being made. There is definitely talks going on in the background, so it won't be long, hopefully, till I can say what it is.
Superb. Take care of yourself, mate.
Tyler,
Thank you again
thanks
so
so
much for
much.
coming on.
Thank you very
Cheers.
much. See you later.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, buddy. Well, I mean, passion, pride, and I don't know, just
Panache.
total enthusiasm, panache, 3 Ps, passion, pride, and panache. Well done, mate. Yeah, absolute enthusiasm. What a lovely, lovely guy, and what a fascinating chat about.
Yeah, I had an absolute joy working with him, and obviously I don't think I've ever really worked with anyone that I haven't got on with or that it hasn't been. But genuinely, Tyler was so much fun, so talented, and so knowledgeable as well when it came to
Yeah.
But beyond that, chatting to him about what he does as his day job. Yes, no, sort of weird description, but essentially the effort and the like sort of complicated nature of it. It's astounding, isn't it, really?
It lifts the lid on that because people think of, red coats, blue coats, whatever, you're on there, you call a bit of bingo, you do a bit of a knobbly knees or whatever it is, competition in the afternoon, a little bit of a tea dance, sing in the evening, bosh, done. I mean, we know it's long hours and we know all those sort of things, but actually when he talks about it with such knowledge and such, passion and pride that you suddenly go, hang on a minute. Yeah, you're right. This is a great grounding. I mean, I know loads of people I've worked with, dozens of people that started off as red coats, blue coats, working, and they always talk of it fondly. But when you look in detail, it's an incredibly important art form, as he put, and I think we should refer to it as an art form because by God, it's
and a lot of the things we talked about there are well, I'd say a lot of the things we talked about are true. Everything we talk about is true, but significant things like it may be the first time a child has seen a performance or a stage show of sorts.
Yeah.
People will come straight from drama school into that, or from other kinds of training into that. So it's their first foray into the performance world as a professional. There are so many elements to it that just reinforce why it's such an important, as you say, art form, an integral part of our industry. And yeah, fascinating talking to Tyler. Brilliant guest. So thank you again for coming on, mate. I'm sure enjoyment has been echoed by everyone that's currently listening and watching, and those that will do in the future as well. So, but that's it. There's no one exciting next week, mate. It's just you and me, isn't it?
Well, so, we have to break up the excitement. We can't run at that pace, and that intensity and that brilliance all the time. We have to sort of like dim it a little bit. And, let's face it, it's going to be dimmer and dimmer next week, isn't it? Eh?
If we didn't bring the monotony, then our guests wouldn't be quite so fabulous.
They wouldn't, would they? Does that mean we make people look good? Is that what you say?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
And our guests make us look good, let's face it, because, that was such a brilliant episode.
Oh, it was. And all I can think is I'd love to see you and Tyler doing Ugly Sisters together. As he said, once he's got his heels on, 6'5", 6'6", and then you with your flats on. And...
about 2 foot lower,
It's familiar, actually. When have we seen that before, Drew?
I don't know, mate. I don't know.
But so back to normal next week, just the two of us. But we've got some interesting stuff to chat about, and we're sure you're not going to want to miss it. So,
no, not going to want to miss that.
Until then, Drew, pleasure as always, mate. Thanks again to Tyler and for everyone who's tuned in, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks again for watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video.
Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app. And please support us on social media. All our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so why not share with your family and friends so they can join in too? Thanks very much. See you next time.